I think one's got to query the honesty and transparency of those senior employees who haven't been named. Maybe they didn't know, but if it's true that they did know, then they share a massive amount of responsibility. But as I say, unfortunately, the spotlight has fallen on Philip Schofield. I believe there are two issues which have been wrongly attributed to him. First of all, his homosexuality, and I think there is definitely a homophobic element here.
Holly Willoughby, his now former co-presenter, has spoken out for the first time since Philip Schofield admitted to having an affair with a junior colleague. In a post on Instagram, she said it had been, and I quote, very hurtful to find out he'd lied to her about the relationship when she'd asked him directly about it. Meanwhile, ITV revealed it had investigated claims about the relationship 3 years ago. Well, let's discuss the broader employment considerations thrown up by this story with Gillian Howard, author of Secrets and Lie, Tales of an Employment Lawyer. Gillian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Henry.
Now, plenty of salacious gossip on the front page is of several tabloids and inside as well. But what's your starting point with this story as a legal specialist?
Okay. First of all, my starting point is this. We don't actually know enough to completely criticise Philip Schofield. Some employers, and I don't know whether ITV is one of them, have consensual relationship policies which forbid or restrict employees having a sexual relationship unless they report it, and then one of them is then moved for very good reasons, because there could be unmerited favours given from a boss to their lover. There could be pillow talk, or there could be allegations of an abuse of power, as there was in the Harvey Weinstein case. So we don't know, first of all, whether or not Philip Schofield breached a consensual relationships policies. If he didn't, then his crime is lying about a personal, out-of-office affair to his employer. I'm not suggesting that it is right ever to lie about anything. But what I'm saying is you have to look at the context. It does seem to me there may be a tinge of homophobia here, because do you think we'd be talking about this if he'd had a sexual relationship with another woman?
Well, possibly, particularly if he had met that younger woman, when they were a teenager, as some newspapers allege, and also that person got a job on the programme as a result, it is alleged, of favours, and then had to move when the relationship allegedly broke down. Would we not be saying that? And also this, let's be frank, 34 years, whether it's a 60-year-old with a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old with, somebody much younger, is significant, isn't it?
It is, and I accept that there is no evidence whatsoever, but it could be, as you've described it, potentially an abuse of power. It could be that the young man in question felt pressured into a relationship when he didn't want it, or was offered, as you say, offered benefits and favours in order to form the relationship.
Although at the moment there's no hint of that whatsoever, of course.
No, there's absolutely no hint of it. And I have to say, if all Philip Schofield did was to lie to his employer, as I say, I'm not suggesting it's ever correct to lie to an employer, but you have to look at the context. And in this context, he may have feared a homophobic backlash if he did tell the truth. And for fear of that and the consequences and the media interest, he may have decided, unfortunately, to keep quiet about it and, in fact, to lie about it. But it didn't affect his ability to be a wonderful presenter or, a very professional man. This was a completely private affair outside work, albeit it was with a young colleague at work. And as I say, I think ITV need to look at their policies very carefully if they haven't got a consensual relationships policy. And I'm also aware that Eamon Holmes has tweeted that 4 senior members of management at ITV knew about this years ago and did nothing about it.
Well, if senior managers know about alleged relationships in an organisation and decide it's not worth tackling because perhaps it involves somebody really important to the company, or in the case of a television organisation, a household name, what are the considerations that we should apply now then?
Well, I think one's got to query the honesty and transparency of those senior employees who haven't been named. Maybe they didn't know, but if it's true that they did know, then they share a massive amount of responsibility. But as I say, unfortunately, the spotlight has fallen on Philip Schofield. I believe there are two issues which have been wrongly attributed to him. First of all, his homosexuality, and I think there is definitely a homophobic element here.
Although when
But
he
also,
came out, sorry, just to say, when he came out a couple of years ago or so, there was all that love and support both on the sofa and in the media and outpouring of love. And he kind of said, I wish I'd done this years ago.
well, I still say that in this country there is a considerable amount of homophobia. I have cases all the time where homophobic discrimination has taken place. But secondly, and much more sinisterly, all the media have linked Philip Schofield to his brother, who in May was convicted of paedophilia. Now, that's got nothing to do with Philip Schofield, but they have all linked the fact that his brother has just been convicted of paedophilia with him. And I think that is very wrong. And it shows.
It might be
to
wrong,
me-
but this is the news business, and it's very brutal, and people make associations all the time. And given what is being said, and we don't know how true some of it is, about the age when Philip Schofield first met this young man, well, that sadly was inevitable, wasn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, when you're a public figure, you'll know more than me, Henry. If you put a foot wrong or say something wrong, you are immediately newsworthy. Doesn't make it better, it doesn't make it good, it doesn't make it right. And one's got to remember that Philip Schofield is a human being with rights and obligations and duties. But I think he's been pilloried in the press, I think quite wrongly. But we don't know the full story. And maybe when the full story comes out, we may be able to take a different view.
Well, Gillian, thank you very much. There are very few people out there who are taking your line, so thank you very much for giving us something different this morning as an employment law specialist. And